Over recent years, Luton has suffered from negative press. Stories of racial tension and riots haven't exactly painted a glowing picture of the town. Author Safraz Manzoor grew up here and couldn't wait to leave, but now he's thinking about coming back. We filmed him meeting artists and musicians who hope to change Luton for the better.
This is my hometown, Luton. I grew up here during the 80s in Marsh Farm, and since then there have been riots and racial tension in the town. It's an image that still haunts Luton. All I dreamt about was leaving, and as soon as I was 18, I did. I became a journalist and felt so strongly about my childhood in the town, I wrote a book about it. I thought of Luton as my past, not my future. I live in London now in a pretty modest two-bedroom flat, but house prices being the way they are, I can't ever actually imagine being able to buy a house there. So that's made me wonder whether I could ever imagine living back in Luton. Whether the things that I love about London, the creativity, the cultural richness, whether I could find those things here. But is it really possible to go back home again?
Wherever I lay my head, that's my home.
I was a student at Luton Sixth Form College 25 years ago, and when I was studying for my A-levels, the reason I wanted to pass my exams was because it would mean I'd get out of Luton. So how do people who are studying for their A-levels today feel about their hometown? I've come back to college to find out. If I was to write the word Luton down, give me some words that are conjured up by that word. So what's the first word you think of when I say Luton?
Luton Airport. I'm not from like that horrible place that has loads of like odd goings on or like bad stuff happening. It's just, oh, Luton Airport. Yeah, pretty much.
What do you say? Where do you say you're from when people ask?
Milton Keynes. I've got family in Milton Keynes. That one works.
I would never say I'm from Milton Keynes. I would say I went to Lee Manor because even though, yes, it was in the middle of Marsh Farm, it made me who I am, and I'm a strong person today. I'm able to walk through Marsh Farm and I can look at all of them and they will all see me and I won't care.
You're carrying on, in a way, giving people a bad representation of Luton. You're obviously doing well for yourself. You're going to meetings and you're giving all the credit to places like Milton Keynes. If more people are ashamed and doing the things you are, no one's going to build a good reputation of Luton.
How many people would it take to big up Luton?
It seems Luton still has an image problem, but there are successful creative people out there bigging up Luton. One person who's so proud of Luton he wears it as a badge of honour is Dominic. He's an artist whose work is inspired by everyday life in his hometown, and a Saatchi gallery in London have bought some of his work. He lives in London, but always comes back to support Luton Town. He's even added Luton to his name.
I changed my name, not by default yet, but I changed my name to Dominic from Luton. I don't think people took it seriously to begin with. But then when people start funding it, etc., and buying work under that name, under that guise, for me it validates it. It's taken seriously. But to be honest, I don't.
But are they envious, like you've got something to work with there? Or are they like, oh my God, you know, we come from really creative places and you come from Luton? What's their...
I think it's really wary. I think people are really wary of and are a bit unknowing about it. Because I know everyone has an opinion, as I said, on Luton. Usually not until recently that positive. So that's why I wanted to wear that as a kind of badge of honour, as it were, for me.
When I was growing up, this was a place of terror, because I remember the football fans rampaging through Bury Park. And the Bury Park, with some of this sort of closed-mindedness and its kind of insularity, is not the kind of community I want either. So it's interesting that both these things are the things which actually pulled me away from Luton.
It's quite interesting, isn't it? Because there's two things now which bring you back to Luton, my parents and this place, I think. But I think I will also say that I think there's a lot more going on. There's a much bigger conversation taking place between what's here, this football club, and realising that actually where it sits in the community and how the community's changed around it.
Another artist who portrays a different view of Luton is Ben Hodson. Ben produced a major piece of work called Lutopia. So Ben, Lutopia, what is it?
For me, Lutopia was the name of a project I started right back in 2007. And it was this basic idea that Luton gets a lot of bad, negative press. I'm sure you've heard a lot of it yourself. And the project was just investigating what Luton was, looking at the everyday, not necessarily beautiful parts of Luton, which there are many, but also looking at the mundane, looking at some of the tower blocks and the parks and the roundabouts, and just trying to find ways of expressing the beauty just in the everyday, in the mundane. And when I sit and I live in Luton and you look around you, all you hear is extremism, tensions, all these things going on. And so very quickly I'm drawn to using my art to try and actually paint a different picture.
The Luton that I'm seeing is very different from the media stereotype. Certain areas have also benefited from investment to create a more bohemian feel. Luton Culture is an independent charity that's been behind part of this regeneration. The former hat factory has been transformed into an art centre. The punk band UK Decay have never lost touch with their roots in Luton, and they played here recently. I met their lead singer, Steve Abbott, with his old school friend Fahim Qureshi, who's now a manager at Luton Culture. He was part of the team that regenerated Hackney in London, and he thinks the same could be done in Luton.
Basically, what changed Hackney around was kind of people doing it for themselves, but then and then the authorities chasing, trying to catch up behind, trying to, sort of provide some kind of infrastructure for the artists that are doing it for themselves. And I see the same things happening in Luton. Luton, Hightown, and Bury Park reminds me of Dalston, Shoreditch, Hodson. Hightown is you go there, it's like bohemian. It's like a very bohemian feel to it.
So if I was to meet you guys in 5-10 years, how do you think the artistic community and what's going on artistically, how do you think it will have changed?
Well, I think Luton will create artists, across all areas of the art. And you see it growing now. You look at the local shows on here, they're not like local shows anymore, conceptually or even standard-wise, It's a much broader sort of palette of the arts than it was in our day, because it was literally just music and a little bit of drama.
Yeah. And I think what you're going to have is more kind of people like Abbo, who started off from Luton, made their names elsewhere, big in London, big in New York, but you're going to see those people coming back to Luton and being sort of affiliated with Luton. So you're going to have more. It's going to be a much much more of a buzz, much more vibrancy.
There's definitely a magnet in Luton, and I meet people from all around the world in the arts.
What is that magnet? What is it that's bringing you back?
Coming from somewhere that you're proud of. I mean, we've just been invisible, I think, because you don't wear it on your sleeve the way you would do if you're from Manchester or from London. Yeah. No, I think what we find, and the band are now touring again. Our diary is Corby, Milan, Luton, Madrid. It's that's what the world is nowadays with cheap airfares. And it always says Luton's own UK Decay. It means something out there, because it's unique.
So you don't have to just leave Luton, you can actually come to Luton for the culture.
Yeah.
Although Luton clearly still has real problems, listening to Fahim and Steve, I almost started believing it's set to be a creative mecca, a hipster heaven. But then I'm reminded of the mixed feelings of some of the students at my old college.
Is Luton on its way up or down?
I really do think that Luton will get worse before it gets better.
I think it's going up. I think it is going up. Like, there's support for people who are in bad situations. There's new houses being built. There's new schools being built. There's a university that's doing well.
When I started making this film, I had no idea what I would find. What I have found is a thriving, stimulating town that's a world away from the claustrophobic tedium of my childhood. I love living in London, but I think I could imagine returning to Luton. There's just something very special about hometowns. Like families, we don't choose them, we spend our childhoods kicking against them, and then once we've forgiven them, we can't help but love them.